Hello, and thank you for joining me on another fun-filled adventure of coding. Today we're going to be coding slivers. We're going to be playing around with slivers and scrolling, and I've always loved this simple little effect where you scroll down and it disappears and appears. All right, let's get to the code. Stay tuned for more. All right, so let's go ahead with the coding. My sliver page, I'm going to create a class called my sliver page, which extends a stateless widget. And we're going to come in here, and we're going to, hopefully, if the IDE works, there you go. We're going to create an override, and what we're going to return. So remember, whenever we're trying to work with slivers, you have to be within a custom scroll view. And this custom scroll view will return or we'll be expecting a list of slivers. Okay, so we're going to do a sliver app bar, and in the sliver app bar, just to get things going, I'm going to give it a title text, and I'm going to say tag. All right, so now we're going to come up to our code, and we are going to, let's see, remove this widget. I thought I could remove it all. I thought it removed widget and children too, but no luck. So let's go in here, and now we'll say my sliver page. All right, hot reload that, and beautiful. So far we don't have much because we haven't really done anything different other than give a sliver app bar. But soon as we build this up, we're going to see the magic of slivers. Now remember, sliver is just a piece or portion of a scrollable page. That's all it is. So this app bar, since it's a sliver app bar, is part of the scrollable page, which we are currently building at the moment. Okay, so sliver app bar, we're going to give it pinned true. We'll talk about that in a second. We're going to give it a flexible space and flexible space bar with a title, and we're going to basically essentially just copy this, Control V, and we're going to give it a height, expanded height of 120, and then I want to give it a leading of asset, image asset, and the name is going to be assets logo.png. Hot reload that, and there we go. Beautiful. So far, we're getting there. We're getting there. All right. So the next thing we're going to do after our sliver app bar is we're going to create a sliver grid. And so in our sliver grid, what we're going to do is we're going to do a grid delegate. So basically this is building our grid. Now this is going to be the longest widget in Flutter history. I mean, that is a long name right there. We'll talk about this in a second. Main axis spacing 10 and cross axis spacing 10, and we're going to do aspect ratio of 4. Alright, well, like I said, we'll get back to that in a second because you're going to see why that is so important in a second. Put a comma there, and so now we're going to give it a delegate, and this is going to actually build our list for us, right? So it's going to take builds context. It's going to bring in the context of the page, int index, and then what are we going to do? We're going to return a container. That's what we're going to do. We're going to return a container. I'll put my semicolon here because God knows how many apps have died because of lack of semicolons. And so we're going to do alignment center, just to make it look pretty. Give it a nice little sorry, got a little ahead of myself. Give it a color of colors purple, and just for differentiation's sake, we'll give it a value of 100 times index remainder 7, and then the child will be a text of grid number, and then we'll pass in the index. Okay. So down here, we're going to give it a child count of 50, so that way it doesn't go on forever and ever. All right, let's hot reload this and see. Ooh, what beautiful magic we have here. Alright, so as you can see, if I scroll through here, I keep scrolling, I get my nice little grid with my spacing. So going back to the top, in our Sliver app bar, we have it pinned, which is true. So that means if I scroll up, it stays right here. And the list, or the grid in this case, will continue to scroll right behind it, because this is pinned right here. You can have actions and all sorts of things like that. I'm just going to center this because I like to have my stuff centered. All right. At its expanded height, so when I come down here, this is at max 120 pixels. That's what this is. So we have a picture, then we have our sliver grid, the delegate, which basically constructs it, so to speak, or gives it its parameters. So this main cross-axis extent basically means how large can this be? What's the biggest it can be? And it kind of constrains it. So right now there's 411 pixels across here. So at 200, it stays within the 400. It just kind of ignores this cross-axis 10 on the sides. So if I were to make this 450, for example, which is larger, what it would do is then it would give it all 1. And if I were to make it smaller, just like 50, it would fit in more little grids in here. Now, mind you, 50 would be a terrible user experience, so we're going to keep it at about 200 for now. All right. So that's the grid. The next thing I'm going to do, the next thing I'm going to do is do a list. So I'm going to make a sliver fix extended list. Sliver fix extended list widget there. And we're going to do an item extent of 50. So that's basically what is the height of each item you're putting in here. And we're going to give it a delegate. And in this delegate, sliver delegate. Yep, I always forget to put builder delegate. We're going to have an anonymous callback, build context, and then int index, and then the return is a container. Alright, there we go, got rid of some of those errors. Alright, and so again, kind of similar to what we did with the grid, we'll give it an alignment of center. And we'll give it a nice color of colors dot. Let's go with orange. I like orange. And then we'll say 100 times index with the remainder of 7. And then we'll give it a child of text, and we'll say lists number, not $, number, and then we'll pass in the index as well. Hot reload that. And so now if we scroll down here, we have our list of oranges. So again, going back to this item extent, if I made it 100 and I hit refresh, now my item's a little bit bigger. So one last thing I want to show you before we say goodbye is sometimes you'll see something that appears to be a app bar up here, and as you scroll up it'll disappear, but this will stay here. What you can do is, we'll come back to our Sliver app bar right here. What you can do is create a Sliver app bar over here, and give me a comment before it gets mad. And in here, give it a title and text, and say welcome to LTG, and we'll say center title true and pinned false. So what you hot reload this, so when you get to the top, you have that here, and of course this you'd probably make a little bit smaller, maybe like 60. There we go. So you'd have that up here, and then if someone scrolls, it'll go away, and then you have yours right there. All right. So just something to give you some ideas, something to play around. Maybe here, instead of having that, you can add a bottom, and you can put in drawing a blank here, a tab bar, and go from there. Just some ideas that you could just kind of play around with and go that way. So something to think about. All right, well, it was awesome coding with you. I really appreciate when you join. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or you want to see something, please let me know. I love coding. I just want to share with you. Subscribe for more videos. Have a good day. Bye.